Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Frame Live. Today, we have such a great show cooked up for you. My guest is Chef Neil. Chef is the executive chef for senior executive chef at Sysco and senior director of culinary development. Welcome, Chef Neil.
Thank you very much for having me, Dottie. It's great to be here.
Well, I have, just in the short amount of time that we've been preparing for this show, you have taught me so much. And I'm very excited that we can share just a little bit about that with our viewers. Our focus this week at Beyond the Frame has been helping proprietors that are reopening look for opportunities where you can actually add to your bottom line while customers are not coming in as plentiful as they had been. And there's so many opportunities for that. But specifically in the food and beverage division of bowling centers, there are so many opportunities right now where you can actually add to your bottom line with just doing a few simple things and to your menu or to what you're bringing in. So let's just kind of jump right in. Sysco has so many things that are available. And as I was preparing for the show and looking, I'm just blown away by the resources that you guys have available for them. But let's just talk about, what post COVID-19 in a food and beverage operation should look like. What should we be concentrating on right now to get us kind of back on our feet?
So we're telling the same story. It doesn't make a difference if you're a bowling alley, a restaurant, or a bar. The first thing that we're saying is you need to compress your menu. You need to minimize your offerings because we don't know if we're going to be open or we're going to be closed. So you don't want to carry large inventories. The other thing is make sure that everything that you're doing is portable. In other words, you can do it to go, curbside, and of course you're going to be serving in to-go containers anyway because we're going to be using disposables, period. But concentrate on doing 3 or 4 items very well versus trying to do a plethora of different items and doing them mediocre, because we all know the hardest thing with COVID is labor. So you need to keep it pretty simple, but put a little style into it, but keep it simple, but make it portable.
Absolutely. And the other thing is it helps with inventory as well. When you've got a streamlined menu, even cross utilization of inventory is something that we need to be thinking about.
And that's the most important thing, to be quite honest. We've opened up quite a few food trucks for operations throughout COVID, and we try to minimize our inventory purchases, but maximize what we can offer through cross utilization. So if you've got tacos, you can do loaded French fries using the same ingredients that you put on top of the tacos. And you can even do loaded nachos. So you can do a 3-way play using 1 or 2 meats and a couple of items that are very, very easily prepared. But more importantly, people feel comfort in street food, especially now. So you don't have to be overly fancy.
Absolutely. Boy, yes, you are so right about that. The other thing is with revenue slower coming in right now, there's also other things that you can do. I know I looked at your foodie the website that you guys have, and there were so many opportunities for your food and beverage operation that the grab and goes and some of these other programs that you guys have completely outlined.
Well, yeah, because we did everything from, in San Antonio especially, we did pop-up shops where when the restaurants were closed, they actually turned their stores into small grocery stores because people didn't want to go into the big ones. So we have what we call solutions, and we have about 10 of them on SyscoFoodie.com, and everything from patio dining to car park dining, curbside, tents. I mean, we went down and broke it all down to make it simple with a list, or should I say a plan and playlist, using a football analogy, obviously. But the biggest thing was, and for bowling alleys in small towns, and we discussed this a little earlier,
Yes.
I've done this with small town restaurants where we get with the PTA and the headmaster or the principal of the school and the PTA and the Boosters Club, and the bowling alley or the restaurant can make a quick meal 5 days a week. It could be lasagna on Wednesdays with just lasagna, green beans, and a piece of garlic bread in a to-go container where it could be curbside pickup for all of these parents that are at home tutoring kids. They don't have time to cook, so you can do it through the schools because you've supported the schools throughout the seasons. Now it's time for the schools to support you. So we've done a lot of programs where we've actually taken small restaurants in small towns and paired them up with the PTA. And instead of doing that card for years, I don't know, we do it nationally, where you have the booster card where you get a couple of, 5% off by going to a certain restaurant that goes back to the school. Well, it's the same kind of play. And the beauty of it is it takes very few people to do it if you already have it pre-planned and you set it up on a pre-order. They call in their order the day before, and all they're doing is picking it up. So you're running their credit card and getting it all prepaid, so you're not losing inventory.
Absolutely. And that also brings it simple, it being simple also is great to concentrate on, because it is hard right now to get your staff back on board and to kind of get them reacclimated with your recipes and get everybody back up to speed. So, that is something.
That's the most important. You're right, because we don't know who's coming back or at what level they're coming back. And, think about it. If I did a lot of work with Six Flags over the years. And so I'm dealing with, high school workforces, and you want to have the knife in their hand as little as possible. So you want to do a lot of plug and play. There's a lot of great items out there now that come in a bag. You put them in boiling water, you heat them. You don't have to have saute pans and open flames. You can actually use a crock pot or a bain-marie to heat up queso, to pulled pork to go on top of nachos. So what we found throughout COVID is people are looking for less labor intensive items. Now, they do understand that you're going to pay more because the labor is already in them, but you're going to have speed of service and you're going to have consistency.
Well, and people aren't expecting discounts necessarily right now. It's more important for them to get quality and to get safety, and the pricing, as long as you have a good quality product and you're providing it in a safe manner, people are willing to pay for it.
Well, you hit two great things there. Safety. If you have the opportunity to put out a video about your bowling alley and it shows you doing sanitizing and stuff on YouTube, people really want to see that. As much as we kind of think, I'm one of those people who go, I don't want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the mommy bloggers, the parents, they want to see that you're doing those things. And then, like you said, a good quality product will go a long way, because look at Five Guys. Five Guys, I eat there once a week. It's on my way home. I get the same thing, so I know what the price is. It's stamped in my head. Last week when I went in, it was 10% higher. I just asked a simple question at the register. I said, "You've gone up on your prices?" And they said, we have. And I said, yeah, I guess you have to. We're all in that mindset that you have to. We want to keep these places in business. We want to keep you in business. So people are not looking for discounts. They're looking for safety and quality.
That's right. And provided those two things are in place, people will pay the price.
Will
and that
pay
goes
the price.
Not just for their food, just in the bowling center in general. If they're coming into the center and it's nice and clean and the service is, stellar and the experience is fantastic, they don't expect it to be discounted. In fact, when it is, it kind of, they kind of look at it like, wonder why that's so cheap.
Well, I'm going to so at the beginning of COVID, I built a fence for one of my neighbors, and a 4x4x8 was practically $10. I went in to get another couple of 4x4s to put the gate in 2 weeks ago. It was $18. So people are not looking to buy. You're not getting an option to buy for less right now. People know that it's going to be more expensive to eat now.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I want to touch on, and I'm sure that you're a huge advocate of it, is, it has changed how we do things. So the day of, the menu, that's long gone. The QR codes are now expected.
They absolutely. And the other thing is that you can, when you're selling your lanes and you're rotating them, if you tell people that we need to rotate those lanes at a certain time frame, and you tell them up front, and it's because you need to generate the income in the business for the to keep the lanes open, they understand. But also, if you're selling a pre-food package, a pre-sold food package with it, they can pick it up as a grab and go on the way out. So you're not slowing down, but it's a part of the package. If you're going to have a lane, excuse me, you need to buy a small food package, because that's what the bars are doing. In order for the bars to be open in many areas, they have to sell a food package in order for you to have drinks. And people are not balking at the idea because they want to go out.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it is the time of year when people are starting to get in the holiday frame of mind, and many bowling centers have, you know, corporate events. Now, this year, corporate events are going to look a little bit different than they have in the past, because we're not going to have the size, you know, not necessarily going to have the large groups per se, but, you know, holiday parties in general. And what do you have as far as suggestions? You know, the days of having a buffet out and people go through the line and serve themselves the buffet, those are out the window now. So what
Well,
do you
and
recommend?
that actually works to your advantage, because now you know how much food you're going to actually have. So your pre-selling packages in the hotels, there's not very many hotels doing catering right now. So you're going to have more opportunity. But people are selling the package where you come up to the table and you get your item. It's everything is going to be served in disposables anyway. So you pre-sell like Philly cheesesteak sandwiches or items like that, but there is no buffet. And if you are doing something that you are serving, you need to have plexiglass in front of the person serving. Plexiglass is cheap. You go to Lowe's, you go anywhere, there's plexiglass between you and the cashier.
And you know, it makes a statement. It's easy for people to see, hey, this, you know, my safety is priority here. I can tell because look at the details. They've got the plexiglass, they're ready to go.
But a
And
lot of
so,
people have gone to having sandwiches and items already packed, and you have a choice. You pick an A or a B, and that's happening in 4 and 5 star hotels, because nobody wants to take a chance of cross contamination or somebody overly touching, or no gloves, no masks. You have to look at this for what it is. Even though you don't want to wear a mask and you don't believe in it and everything else, your patrons, at least 50 to 60% of them, will be offended if you're not following those protocols. And it is the protocol of food and beverage.
right. And we all know what happens then. They reach out to social media and
Oh, yeah.
yes,
And social media is both a luxury and a weapon.
isn't that the truth? Absolutely, it's the truth. Um, so with with our centers reopening, most bowling centers now have had the opportunity to reopen. I saw your Snapback Tool Kit that you guys put together, and I want to just take a few minutes to mention that, because if there's somebody that's watching us today that has not looked into that, I highly encourage them to take a look at it. Can you tell us a little bit about how did that come to be? I know you had your hands all over that. Tell us
So,
a little bit about that.
so as soon as COVID kicked in, and after the first week, the realization that this was going to be huge. So as a corporation, we had to look into buying masks, sanitizers, all of these things that nobody was really carrying. So in order for us to go out there, we had to educate people on what we had. So we decided to start building toolkits or solutions. And the
Mhm,
snapback was what we went in and really studied the market or the form.
mhm.
And we came up with best solutions, best in class to open, best in class to show the general public through social media you're doing the right things, best in practice about social distancing, table distancing. And then what we actually did was we went out and actually did it with customers to see that it actually worked, got testimonials and videos, filmed it to show that it wasn't just talk, it actually works. So we did that on everything from the snapback at the very beginning to show people what to, as soon as they say we can reopen, this is a playbook on how to do it quickly and correctly and tick off all of the items. And we did it for every kind of venue. We did it for grab and go, curbside, patio dining, rooftop dining. There's so many. We've partnered up with tent rental companies. You must use your parking lots. You can have a lot of fun in your parking lots, and you can also have seating out there to serve alcohol in the state of Texas, and a lot of other states are allowing you to serve alcohol in your parking lot. And then you can use it as a massive waiting room to rotate your lanes, where people can actually have beverages. Maybe you put some video games out there. Maybe you wheel out some of your games. But to make it a sitting room, or because it's open air on the sides, people are not afraid about circulating air. So we've made partners with that. We've made partners with igloos that you can do parties of 8 inside. They're very quick to put up, and they're all into the party rental piece.
Okay.
But Dottie, we talked about it earlier. If you're not willing to pivot and change your business acronym, you're not going to really survive, because the industry has changed forever, and customers' expectations have changed for years to come. And they're going to be looking for, number one, safety. They're going to be looking for cool ways of serving food in a disposable fashion, because it's all going to be grab and go. We're not going to be using plates. We're not going to be using buffet silver lined out. You're definitely not going to have pumps with mayonnaise and stuff. Everything is going to be PC driven, individuals. Same thing with soda fountains. You're filling it up and giving it to them. They're not self-serve anymore. No refills in the same cups. There is a lot of items that have changed for good. So you really need to pivot to it and say, okay, what is my business plan? And working with a lot of operators, we're looking at a business plan that is going to last to 2022.
That's right. I want to do a shout out. We have Amy that has joined us, and she mentioned about feeding league bowlers after league. And when you're talking about the grab and goes, or even to take the business outside and revamp your parking lot. We know that league bowlers like to hang around after they're done bowling. That's part of the social aspect of what they do. And there is a way that you can keep them occupied and still have food and beverage sales. And like you said, you have to keep that mindset that, okay, let's look at the situation and evaluate what can I do to, to draw in more money. And as you and I chatted before, when you have the mindset that I can do anything and I'm going to try it, it may not work out of the gate, and I might need to fine tune it, or maybe it just won't work at all. But the ones that are really being successful right now are those that are trying those things that are completely out of the norm. Who would have thought that, that we would be talking about taking our video games out in the parking lot? I mean, 5 years ago, I would have said, you know what, that's a crazy idea. But now I'm like, wow, what a clever idea. Or having, trunk or treat out in our parking lot, or putting a movie theater out in the big middle of our, parking lot.
Well, if you have fryers, you can set up a ghost kitchen and get yourself a third party delivery and do wings, and you can call it. We actually have a solution booklet on third party and on ghost kitchens, but you can actually use your kitchen to supply to go on a third party, and you can call it, you could call it Skittles fried chicken, and nobody knows that it's coming out of a bowling alley because it's going through a third party delivery. So Absolutely. You just have a really nice sticker made. It could even be the bowling alley's logo, but you could use those fryers and have 1 or 2 people generating revenue for you.
And those are things that can continue. That's a great way to get people back on track and have additional revenue coming in. But who's to say that's not something you want to continue doing? If it works, keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing is that you're going to learn a lot of new things in business now. And bowling alley food was a certain way for a long time, especially small town bowling alleys. Well, now the opportunity is to look at it. There's so many new items coming out. You're going to see a big influx of labor saving ideas, cool ideas. you know, the new ovens to heat up stuff. I mean, if you think about it, Starbucks 5 years ago wasn't doing hot sandwiches.
You're right.
And now they keep adding to the menu using one small turbo oven.
Wow, very interesting.
One
Very
oven. That's it. No skill. It's already pre-programmed. You hit the number, it heats up the croissant sandwich, and it heats up the bacon toasty, whatever.
and it's consistent every time. You don't have
Consistent
to
every
worry
time.
about who isn't properly trained or whatever. You have a consistent product, and it's, those products typically are a little bit more expensive, but look what you get in return. You get that
Well, there's an
consistency.
old saying, I'll take $2 any day over no dollars. So
Absolutely.
sometimes an item will cost 50% to get out there, but I'm making 50% for myself. I'll take 50% all day long, because there's an old saying from the old timers, you don't take percentages to the bank, you take dollars to the bank.
I agree with that 100%. Well, Chef, you have brought, my head is spinning with all the different ideas that you've put on the table today. And I hope that our viewers are able to put at least one or two of these things into play, because they're just fantastic ideas. And it has thoroughly been my pleasure to meet you, first off, but to have you as a guest on the show today.
Thank you.
Before we leave, is there, I always like to ask the guests, is there any words of wisdom you would like to leave us with today?
Absolutely. I had the honor to interview Bo Jackson a few weeks ago, and Bo Jackson, as we all know, super athlete, came back from hip surgery, etc.
Uh-huh.
And he could not say this enough: never, never, never give in. That's all he
That's
had to say when I asked the same question. Never, ever, ever give in. And now he's in the food and beverage game. And he said that it's a harder game than the football game.
Well,
So for all
what,
of
I
you
would
out
have to
there,
agree.
it's a hard game, but he said and I love the passion that he said it. Never, ever give in. And I really mean, that speaks oceans to me, because really that's how you're successful.
You're exact. I mean, that's always a very powerful message. But now, today, with the state of things as they are with the pandemic, to me, I that could not have been a more perfect message for you to leave us with, because I
Well,
think that it's
when you get
easy
up,
to
you have a
say,
choice in the morning, right? When
you're
you get up
right.
in the morning, you have a choice. You either get up and say, I'm after it, or you can get up and be depressed. It's
Absolutely.
always a much better day if you get up and fight it.
You are so right. You are so right. Well, it has certainly been a pleasure having you on the show, and I know that what you brought to the table today is going to be used by a lot of our viewers, and for that we thank you. We thank you for all that you've done, all the material that you've put out, and certainly for being our guest on the show today. So, before we close, I'd like to just remind our viewers that next week we have a really fun week planned for you. My colleague Jay Nephew is going to have Collie Edison on from Bolero on Tuesday on Beyond the Frame Live. And Collie was actually on Undercover Boss recently. So we're going to get to hear all the little stories about that experience, which should be really exciting. If you have a problem or a challenge or something that we could help you out with, make sure to submit it to successcoach@cubicaamf.com. We are still taking applications for our 15-minute fixes, and maybe you'll be chosen for us to fix your problem live and on air. So again, Chef, it has been my pleasure having you today, and I thank you so much for being here and for delivering such a wonderful message.
Thank you very much, Dottie. My pleasure.
And for our viewers, we hope you have a great week and continue thinking beyond the frame.